What if I told you that the secret to success in leadership, business, and even personal happiness isn't about intelligence, money, or talent, but about how you deal with people? Every great leader, every influential entrepreneur, every inspiring human being shares one critical skill: the ability to connect with others. Dale Carnegie's timeless classic, How to Win Friends and Influence People, has been teaching this skill since 1936. Nearly a century later, it remains one of the most powerful guides for anyone who wants to grow their influence, strengthen relationships, and lead with impact. Dale Carnegie was a pioneer in self-improvement, salesmanship, and interpersonal communication. Born into poverty, he built his career by teaching people how to speak confidently and connect authentically. His training programs and books transformed the lives of millions, and his legacy lives on today through Dale Carnegie Training, a global organization that continues to shape leaders around the world. Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People is structured into 4 powerful parts, containing a total of 30 timeless chapters. In Part 1, Carnegie lays out the fundamental techniques for handling people. Part 2 reveals 6 proven ways to make people like you. Part 3 dives into 12 strategies to win people to your way of thinking. And Part 4 focuses on 9 principles of leadership, how to inspire change without arousing resentment. Together, these 4 parts create a complete roadmap for building influence, mastering communication, and becoming a leader people respect and trust. The big idea is simple. Success in life comes not from pushing people around, but from inspiring them, valuing them, and understanding them. Human beings crave respect, appreciation, and connection. If you can fulfill those needs, you can influence anyone. Not through manipulation, but through genuine care. Friends, welcome to the Leadership Code, the place where we break down the world's most powerful books on leadership, communication, and personal growth. If you're here, it means you care about growth, influence, and becoming a better leader. Subscribe now, tap the bell icon, and join us every week for audiobook-style summaries packed with practical lessons you can apply immediately. Now let's dive into today's powerful book, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Part 1. Theme: Fundamental Techniques in Handling People. Chapter 1. If you want to gather honey, don't kick over the beehive. The very first principle Dale Carnegie gives us is simple yet life-changing. Don't criticize, condemn, or complain. Criticism doesn't correct, it condemns. When we criticize, we put people on the defensive and wound their pride. Even notorious criminals like Al Capone saw themselves as misunderstood, not guilty. The truth is, no matter how wrong people are, they rarely see themselves as villains. Leaders who criticize harshly don't inspire growth. They inspire resentment. Instead, Carnegie urges us to build with encouragement, not destroy with complaints. Action step: before you criticize, pause. Ask, will this build the person up or tear them down? Replace judgment with curiosity. You'll gain cooperation and respect, not resistance. Chapter 2. The Big Secret of Dealing with People. What's the big secret? Make people feel important through sincere appreciation. Carnegie says the deepest craving of human beings is the desire to be valued. Charles Schwab, one of America's greatest business leaders, once said he paid people not for what they produced, but for their enthusiasm, which he earned by giving honest praise. But here's the key: this isn't flattery. Flattery is false, self-serving, and transparent. Sincere appreciation is genuine, specific, and meaningful. Action step: instead of generic compliments like, "Good job," say, "I admired how calmly you handled that customer's frustration." Real recognition inspires real loyalty. Chapter 3. He who can do this has the whole world with him. He who cannot walks a lonely way. The third principle is the foundation of influence. Become genuinely interested in other people. Carnegie tells us that you can make more friends in 2 months by being interested in others than in 2 years trying to make others interested in you. Theodore Roosevelt embodied this by studying his guests' passions before meeting them, ensuring he could talk about their interests. People love talking about themselves. When you show real curiosity, you win their trust and friendship. The danger? Pretending. People know the difference. Action step. Ask thoughtful questions. Listen intently. Remember small details and follow up. Interest builds connection. Connection builds influence. Part 1 summary. Carnegie's first 3 principles form the bedrock of influence and leadership. 1. Don't criticize, condemn, or complain. Build instead of breaking down. 2. Give honest, sincere appreciation. People thrive when valued. 3. Become genuinely interested in others. Real influence starts with real interest. These aren't tricks. They're timeless truths about human nature. Practice them daily, and you'll find people more open, more loyal, and more willing to follow your lead. That's the foundation of winning friends and influencing people. Friends, if you found value in this audiobook summary, I'd love for you to subscribe to the Leadership Code. Join our growing community of leaders and learners, and let's keep unlocking powerful lessons together. Part 2. Theme: 6 ways to make people like you. Chapter 1. Do this, and you'll be welcome anywhere. If you want people to like you, start with a smile. It sounds simple, but it's incredibly powerful. A genuine smile is universal. It disarms tension, opens doors, and signals warmth without saying a word. Carnegie tells us that actions speak louder than words, and a smile communicates acceptance and friendliness instantly. Think about it. Would you rather follow a leader who greets you with a frown or one who lights up the room with a smile? The application is clear. Smile more, sincerely. It makes you approachable and creates a positive environment. As Carnegie says, a smile costs nothing, but creates much. Chapter 2. A simple way to make a good first impression. One of the most powerful ways to win friends instantly is to remember and use a person's name. To them, it's the sweetest sound in any language. Carnegie shares the story of Andrew Carnegie, no relation, who attributed much of his business success to remembering names and making people feel recognized. The tip here is simple but often overlooked. Use people's names often, respectfully, and sincerely. Whether in business or daily life, remembering a name makes people feel important, and that builds influence. Chapter 3. If you don't do this, you are headed for trouble. The key to being liked is to be a good listener. Let people talk about themselves. Most people aren't looking for critics or competitors in conversation. They're looking for someone who will genuinely listen. Carnegie reminds us people can talk for hours about themselves if someone truly listens. Leaders who listen win trust, while those who dominate conversations push others away. Action step. Listen actively. Nod, encourage, ask follow-up questions. Show genuine interest. As Carnegie says, be a good listener. Encourage others to talk about themselves. Chapter 4. An easy way to become a good conversationalist. If you want to be fascinating, talk about what interests the other person. Carnegie's lesson here is to be interesting. Be interested. He recounts conversations where people left saying that person was the most brilliant conversationalist, when in reality the person barely spoke, they just listened and asked about the other's passions. Practical advice. Find out what excites others and steer the conversation there. The magic is that people leave feeling good about you because you made them feel good about themselves. Chapter 5. How to interest people. Everyone has passions. The fastest way to connect with someone is to talk in terms of their interests. Carnegie tells of a businessman who impressed a botanist not by talking about business, but by discussing plants. That simple act built rapport and respect. Leadership application. Whether in networking, sales, or leadership, identify what matters to the other person. Show curiosity about their world. That's how you build influence, by aligning with what people value most. Chapter 6. How to make people like you instantly. The fastest way to make someone like you is this. Make them feel important and do it sincerely. Carnegie emphasizes that recognition is a basic human desire. The moment someone feels respected and valued in your presence, they associate you with positive feelings. The caution, don't flatter, be genuine. Find something real to appreciate and express it authentically. The takeaway? Treat the janitor with the same respect as the CEO. Make everyone you meet feel significant. It costs nothing, but it builds influence that lasts a lifetime. Leadership summary of Part 2. Carnegie's 6 principles can be summed up as 1. Smile. 2. Remember names. 3. Be a good listener. 4. Talk in terms of others' interests. 5. Let people talk about themselves. 6. Make others feel important sincerely. These are not tricks, they are timeless habits. When you practice them daily, you don't just win friends, you win trust, influence, and respect as a leader. Friends, if you found value in this audiobook summary, I'd love for you to subscribe to the Leadership Code. Join our growing community of leaders and learners, and let's keep unlocking powerful lessons together. Part 3. Theme: How to win people to your way of thinking. Chapter 1. You can't win an argument. Carnegie begins with a hard truth. The best way to win an argument is to avoid it. Why? Because even if you win, you lose. The other person walks away resentful or humiliated. Instead, seek understanding, not victory. Leaders don't need to dominate every debate. They need to build bridges. Ask questions, listen, and guide the conversation toward cooperation. Remember, you can't force people to agree, but you can inspire them to rethink when they feel respected. Chapter 2. A sure way of making enemies and how to avoid it. Never begin by telling someone they're wrong. It triggers defensiveness and resistance. Instead, Carnegie suggests showing respect for others' opinions. Phrases like, "I may be wrong, but let's look at it together," open doors for dialogue. The moment you attack someone's view, you create an enemy. The moment you respect it, you create space for influence. Chapter 3. If you're wrong, admit it. The fastest way to disarm criticism is by admitting your mistakes quickly and emphatically. Carnegie reminds us that humility wins people over. When you own up to errors, people admire your honesty and forgive easily. Leaders who admit faults build credibility, while those who cover them up lose trust. The lesson: don't fight to be flawless. Fight to be authentic. Chapter 4. A drop of honey. Gentleness wins where aggression fails. Carnegie illustrates that a friendly approach melts resistance. When persuading, start with warmth and kindness. A drop of honey attracts more flies than a gallon of gall. Leaders should replace commands with cooperation, criticism with encouragement, and hostility with friendliness. Influence flows from empathy. Chapter 5. The Secret of Socrates. The Greek philosopher Socrates mastered persuasion by asking questions that led people to say yes repeatedly. Carnegie teaches that when you guide people into agreement step by step, they're more open to your final idea. In leadership, this means framing conversations so that agreement builds momentum instead of starting with conflict. Chapter 6. The safety valve in handling complaints. Let the other person talk. Give them their full say. Carnegie calls listening a safety valve. It releases pressure. When people feel heard, they calm down and become more open to solutions. Leaders who listen before speaking show respect and earn cooperation. Sometimes silence persuades more than arguments. Chapter 7. How to get cooperation. Instead of giving orders, ask questions. Carnegie explains that when people are involved in decisions, they feel ownership. A boss might say, "Do this report by Friday." But a leader asks, "How soon do you think we could finish this report together?" The shift is small but powerful. Asking for input builds cooperation instead of resistance. Chapter 8. A formula that will work wonders for you. Here's the formula. Let the other person feel that the idea is theirs. Carnegie emphasizes that people support what they help create. Instead of imposing, invite collaboration. Leaders who credit others with ownership gain loyalty and buy-in. Influence works best when others feel it was their idea all along. Chapter 9. What everybody wants. Every human being craves validation. Carnegie teaches us to empathize with others' desires and perspectives. Before persuading, ask, what does this person really want? Acknowledging their viewpoint creates common ground. When people feel understood, they're more willing to consider your side. The key is empathy before persuasion. Chapter 10. An appeal that everybody likes won't. Carnegie suggests appealing to nobler motives. Instead of questioning someone's integrity, appeal to their higher values, fairness, honesty, responsibility. Leaders who frame requests in terms of integrity inspire cooperation. When you say, "I know you value quality, and that's why I need your help," you elevate the conversation. People want to act in line with their best selves. Chapter 11. The movies do it. TV does it. Why don't you do it? Stories and visuals persuade more than dry logic. Carnegie reminds us that Hollywood doesn't use statistics, it uses drama. In leadership, when you want to influence, illustrate your point with vivid examples, analogies, or stories. Don't just tell, show. Paint a picture, and people will follow. Chapter 12. When nothing else works, try this. When logic fails, when arguments stall, there's one last tool: challenge. Carnegie notes that people love to rise to a challenge. Great leaders inspire action by appealing to the competitive spirit, not through force, but by daring others to step up. A challenge transforms resistance into energy. Leadership summary of Part 3, winning people to your way of thinking, doesn't come from force, argument, or dominance. It comes from respect, humility, empathy, and storytelling. The principles are simple. Avoid arguments, admit mistakes, listen more, ask questions, and appeal to nobler motives. Master these, and you'll not only win people to your side, you'll win their trust for life. Friends, if you found value in this audiobook summary, I'd love for you to subscribe to the Leadership Code. Part 4. Theme: Be a leader. How to change people without giving offense or arousing resentment. Chapter 1. If you must find fault, this is the way to begin. Carnegie teaches that if you must criticize, start with praise. A sincere compliment cushions the impact of feedback. By acknowledging what someone is doing right first, you soften defensiveness and open the door for improvement. Leaders who begin with recognition make correction easier to accept and more likely to be acted upon. Chapter 2. How to criticize and not be hated for it. Nobody likes being told they're wrong, but if correction is wrapped in encouragement, it feels like guidance, not attack. Carnegie suggests delivering feedback indirectly. Highlight the error tactfully without embarrassing the person. Leaders who protect dignity while correcting behavior inspire loyalty instead of resentment. Chapter 3. Talk about your own mistakes first. Before pointing out someone else's fault, admit your own. Carnegie reminds us that humility is disarming. By saying, "I've made the same mistake before," you position yourself as a partner, not a judge. Leaders who share their struggles make others more willing to accept guidance. Chapter 4. No one likes to take orders. Direct commands often trigger resistance. Carnegie suggests phrasing them as questions. Would you consider trying this? Or, what do you think about doing it this way? This approach preserves autonomy and encourages collaboration. Leaders who invite cooperation instead of demanding obedience win respect and results. Chapter 5. Let the other person save face. Preserving dignity is essential. Carnegie warns, never humiliate someone in front of others. If a mistake is made, handle it privately and respectfully. Leaders who allow others to save face not only protect relationships, but also maintain trust and morale. Chapter 6. How to spur people on to success. Encouragement builds confidence. Carnegie notes that when you highlight even small progress, people are inspired to improve further. Instead of dwelling on faults, emphasize potential. Say, "I see real promise in you," and watch people rise to meet that vision. Great leaders see people not just as they are, but as they could be. Chapter 7. Give a dog a good name. Carnegie explains, people live up to the expectations you set. If you want someone to improve, give them a reputation to uphold. Tell a struggling employee, "You're known for your reliability." That affirmation motivates them to act in line with that identity. Leaders who set positive labels inspire growth and responsibility. Chapter 8. Make the fault seem easy to correct. If you present a problem as overwhelming, people freeze. But if you frame it as simple, they're motivated to try. Carnegie suggests showing people that their faults are fixable and improvement is within reach. Leaders who say, "This is just a small adjustment, you can handle it," instill confidence and progress. Chapter 9. Making people glad to do what you want. The highest art of leadership is inspiring people to want to act. Carnegie emphasizes enthusiasm, empathy, and framing tasks as opportunities. Show how the action benefits the person, the team, or a greater cause. When people are glad to do what you ask, you no longer push, you lead. Leadership summary of Part 4. The principles of leadership Carnegie lays out are timeless. Lead with praise, admit your own mistakes, protect dignity, encourage growth, and inspire enthusiasm. A true leader doesn't demand change through criticism. They guide people toward it with respect, encouragement, and vision. Influence isn't about power. It's about empowering others. Conclusion. We've just journeyed through one of the most influential self-improvement books of all time, Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. Though first published in 1936, its wisdom is timeless because it speaks to something that never changes: human nature. Carnegie showed us that success is not built on technical skill alone, it's built on relationships. From avoiding criticism, offering sincere appreciation, and smiling often, to listening deeply, remembering names, and showing genuine interest in others, to persuading with empathy, humility, and stories, to leading with encouragement, dignity, and vision. The big idea? People want to feel important, respected, and understood. If you can give that to others, you will unlock doors of influence, leadership, and connection everywhere you go. Here's the leadership takeaway. Don't criticize, condemn, or complain. Build up instead of tearing down. Appreciate people sincerely, anew and often. Listen more than you speak. Lead with humility, empathy, and encouragement. These principles aren't tricks, they're habits, a way of living that transforms how people see you and how you see them. Carnegie said it best. When dealing with people, remember you are not dealing with creatures of logic, but creatures of emotion. So, let's lead with heart. Let's practice these principles daily. And let's commit to becoming leaders who don't just win arguments or projects, but win trust, loyalty, and lasting friendships. If this summary inspired you, then please like, share, and subscribe to the Leadership Code for more audiobook summaries that will sharpen your leadership and transform your life.